This is the story of Future. The story of Future really begins in the 2019 to 2020 season when a young 2-year-old 8-pointer showed up on the cameras. He became really frequent during the late season and continued to stay on our cameras into the spring of 2020. And in the spring of 2020, a couple buddies and I were shed hunting our property, and Brett ended up finding a really nice 8-point set shed hunting. And when we met back up at the truck, I immediately recognized the deer as the nice 2-year-old 8-pointer that had showed up during the late season. He had a lot of potential. He was definitely a 2-year-old deer. The sheds had really small pedicles, but I'd say he was probably a 100-inch 2-year-old, and we were really excited to see what he was going to turn into the next year. We weren't so sure that he was going to stick around because he had just showed up during the late season, and typically we can pull a lot of deer with the food and the big ag that we have around our property. We weren't sure if he was going to be around for sure in the 2020 season, but we were looking forward to hopefully getting some velvet pictures of him in the 2020 summer. The summer rolled around and we definitely ended up getting some pictures of him, and he blew up into a really nice 3-year-old. I want to say he was probably 135-inch to 140-inch 3-year-old. We got some really nice velvet pictures of him, but he still wasn't a deer that we were going to target that year, but we were happy that he was still around. Heading into the 2020 deer hunting season, Shelfeffer and I were definitely going to keep an eye out for him, just hoping to have some cool encounters and get some good video of him.
See him? It's Future. We just had Future come through again. He's a really nice 3.5-year-old. He's a deer I'm really excited about, and hopefully he makes it. But we've seen a couple does filtering through to the south of us, and he's kind of headed that way now. But it's gonna start warming up here, and hopefully we can see some more deer cruising looking for does.
We finally did run into him in our rutcation of 2020, and we had a couple of encounters with him in the early part of November there, and that was pretty cool. He made it through the rifle season, which is a huge deal in Wisconsin here, as a lot of people know. So we were really happy that he made it through. A friend of mine and I were out doe hunting during the T-zone, and he stepped out into the turnip plot, and I got some more footage of him in that 2020 season. He had busted off his G3, a part of his G3, and some of his brow tines. But we were really looking forward to the shed season and hoping that we could pick up his 3-year-old sheds. Going into the 21 shed season, we never did end up picking up his sheds, but we were hopeful that he was going to stick around. We really wanted to see what he was going to turn into as a 4-year-old because he had made such a good jump from 2 to 3. We never did pick up his sheds, but we were looking for him all of the summer of 2021, and the majority of the summer he was completely MIA. I talked to the neighbors, none of them had pictures of him either, but we did get one picture of him in mid-August. He must have made just a jaunt over from wherever he was summering, and he pretty much made his way through the neighborhood one day that summer and gave everybody one picture of himself in velvet in the summer of 2021, and must have headed back to where he was summering. He didn't end up showing back up until, I want to say, late September, around the 25th. I finally had started getting pictures of him again. He must have really began his transition over to his fall range, which I believe now is our property. His core was really in the heart of our property, and it seemed like it had gotten smaller from 3 to 4 other than him summering at some other location that at that point I didn't know where it was. I headed out after a different deer that year. I still wasn't sure if I wanted to shoot him as a 4-year-old, even though he had blown up into about a 160-inch deer that we were really excited about.
It's the afternoon of September 28th, and I just got set up here in the 3-acre blind. We got a bunch of turnips and radishes out here this year. This is exactly what we had planted out here last year. And it was actually pretty decent early season like this. It's about 70 degrees. It's supposed to cool off tonight pretty good, and the wind is pretty much non-existent.
He showed up in the field, and that was my first encounter with him late September of 2021. I continued hunting 2021 for a different deer that I called R2, and never really had an encounter with Future in all of October and even the early stages of November during Shelfeffer and I's rutcation. We knew he was around. We were getting a lot of pictures of him. We just weren't getting we just weren't seeing him a lot on the hoof. And I don't know if it was just cat and mouse game, or if he was more nocturnal as a 4-year-old. The next encounter after that encounter I had in September was November 13th, and that was a really memorable hunt for me. I shot the target deer that I was after that year, but the morning of that, Future made his way past us, and when he came past, we noticed that he had got his left eye gored out. He broke off his brow tine, he broke a G2, and he was just really busted up. So he was officially not a shooter in 2021 once we realized that he was so busted up.
Well, it's about 8 o'clock, and so far it's been an unbelievable morning. We've seen countless does and fawns filtering through here and into this thick bedding to the west of us. We did see Future, and man, he's all busted up. He broke a right brow tine off. He's got a big wound to his left eye. His eye must have got gored out. We saw that in some of the trail camera photos that we got, but it was nice to see him in person. And yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna lose that left eye. And then since the last time we got a picture of him, he snapped that left G2 off also. So really hoping he can make it through the year. He's going to be a giant next year. His name says it all.
2021 progressed, and I was really kind of worried about that eye that he had gored out during the 2021 season. He stuck around the rest of the year, and I had a couple more encounters with him there in the late season of 2021.
Well, it's the afternoon of November 27th, and Spencer and I are set up in the 3-acre blind this afternoon. I don't really have a primary target tonight. Kind of just looking for a surprise buck that has moved in from either the pressure of gun season or just for all the late season food that we have here.
That's Future, 100%. He was still a really fun deer to watch, and I was really excited to see what he was going to do as a 5-year-old. He made it through the gun season again, which I was super impressed about. I had agreed with the neighbors that he was that I wasn't going to shoot him, and neither were they because of how broken up he was. Now, we had a couple encounters with him in the late season there, and heading into shed season, he had stuck around again on our cameras, so I was looking forward to getting out and getting after his sheds in the 2022 shed season.
Well, I just came out here for a little stroll after work. I don't have the mic on my camera, so the audio is probably kind of bad. But I just came out here for a little stroll after work, and was only walking for about 10 minutes, and I found the biggest shed I'll probably find this year. Unless I can find the other side. This is a buck that I call Future. I've been watching him here for quite a while. And I elected to pass him this year. I think he's a super good 4-year-old. And we had quite a few encounters with him this year. And I'm just super jacked to see what he looks like this year. Future, one side, first shed of the year, can only go down from here, unfortunately. Pretty jacked, so let's go. This is the shed that I had picked up off of him from the 2021 season, and he was a super good deer. I figured in 160s, and I was really looking forward to what he was going to turn into as a 5-year-old. I was really expecting him to blow up because he had made 2 big jumps from 2 to 3 and then from 3 to 4. So to say that we were excited for the 2022 season was an understatement. Getting into 2022 now, Future was going to be 5 years old and was going to be at the top of the hit list. As much as his core area really shrunk during the 2021 season, I was really hoping that we would get some good velvet pictures of him and maybe some good velvet footage of him throughout the summer. And I scouted for him a lot during the summer, just hoping to get a glimpse of him. And I didn't get one velvet picture of him during any of the summer months, and I never saw him. Come to find out, talking to people around the area, that he was actually summering about 4 miles to the northeast of our property. And I was just surprised, and I was really crossing my fingers that he was going to come back. I assume that's where he was summering the 2021 season also. He just had never made that trip back during the 2022 summer like he did in the 2021 to give us any hope. Going into the hunting season of 2022, I was really crossing my fingers that he was going to make the 4-mile trek back to our property to what I figured was his fall range. I got a little nervous because there's a lot of roads in between. He had to cross a lot of roads, and I was just crossing my fingers that he was going to make it back alive. So come early September of 2022, he finally showed back up. He made it back the 4-mile trek back to his fall range, and I was just super stoked that he was back for the hunting season. He didn't look like he had put on a ton of inches. I don't believe it was a great growing year, because it seemed like most of our mature bucks around the area didn't put on a ton, didn't make huge jumps. And what that's because of, whether it's the winter or a dry summer, I don't really know. It could have been the injury to his eye also, I don't know, but he's a great buck nonetheless, and I was super stoked to go after him. We hit it hard after him right into the 2022 season, and it seemed like his core area had shrunk even more. He was really consistently hitting this green plot that I had planted throughout the summer, and Brandon and I got in there a couple times early season and had 2 encounters with him. Oh, we're in the wrong spot, man. That stand is right there. He's gonna walk right past that stand. He's right under that stand. I mean, that's a 20-yard chip shot from that tree stand. Oh, man. It turned out to be a pretty eventful night. Future, he came out into the middle of the plot there at the end. We ran out of light for him to make his way across the plot, but he made it to about 100 yards or 150 yards, somewhere right around there.
He walked right past the other tree stand, but I'm not even convinced though if we were sitting in that spot if we would have got a shot at him with the swirling winds that we were dealing with tonight. Something over there. They're all looking at him. He's coming right now. Future came right in, did exactly what we wanted him to, just did it about 15 minutes late. He never spooked or anything, but he walked right past it 25 yards, just we were low on light, couldn't see my pin, low light for the camera, and eventually got past close too. So yeah, super fun. I think it's only a matter of time until we get on that deer in the daylight. Fun night, but we'll keep going. We never ended up catching up with them in the early season there, and I got out sporadically through the October lull and never had another encounter with them, but we had tons of trail camera pictures of him, and it seemed like his core, once he got back to his fall range, had gotten even smaller. So I felt like we had a really good chance to kill him with the bow. Elliott Schellpfeffer and I always take our rutcation there towards the end of October and the beginning of November, and boy did we have a string of events with him. So our 5 days of rutcation were really good, and I still can't believe that we didn't get this deer killed with the amount of encounters that we had with them. For whatever reason, in the last 5 minutes, that doe ended up working off to the south, and he just left her, that one that he was with the whole time out here and guarding, and then he just went off to the northeast, out the northeast corner of the field. It's about 7:20, and Elliott and I are in the waterhole stand about 2 minutes ago, and it's still currently Future is off to the west of us here. He's following a doe. For a little bit it looked like she was going to come in towards the waterhole, but she ended up going over to the west a little further. It's about 40 degrees this morning with almost no wind. It says calm on the weather app, but it's a beautiful morning. We've had a couple of little bucks skirt through this foundation field, and like I said before, Future over here to the west of us, he was probably about 80 yards, but he's in the area. We just need that doe to go the right direction. Well, to say that was disappointing would be an understatement. They did exactly what we thought. They came right back through here, except the only difference was they came in the field, which didn't make that big of a difference. He came off the field right here to 15 yards, full draw. I stopped him, and he took 2 extra steps and got behind this tree, and I couldn't shoot him behind that tree, and then he ran kind of straight away. From the sounds of it, it sounds like a godsend, because Schellpfeffer was on the wrong deer anyway. So he was right here, 15 yards. Can't get any closer than that. Marks 4 days in a row that we've seen this deer on the hoof in daylight, and we just can't quite close the deal. Whether the doe doesn't go the right way or he stops behind a tree at 15 yards. God, we're in him. We just can't get him killed within bow range. So, exciting to see him though. But the story carries on.
I'm at a loss for words, really. It's day 5 in a row that we've seen that deer. Second time we've had him in bow range. Finally got a shot off. And I think after reviewing the footage, I nicked that little tree that was in front of him. The effort that we put into that deer, and to have the opportunity and to just come short, fall short because of yourself is pretty sickening.
Our rutcation ended, and we headed back out for the last weekend before gun season. Walking into the stand, Shellpfeffer and I bumped him trying to get into our stand bedded with a doe. And the week leading up to gun season, after we bumped him, he was pretty much MIA, and I was really worried that he wasn't going to be on the property for opening weekend of gun season. And there's a fair amount of gun pressure around our property, and I thought there was a really good chance that we weren't going to get the first crack at him. Friday night before gun season, I got one picture of him, and he showed back up, and I was really jacked to get into the blind for opening day. So we got into the blind for opening day, and pretty much the rest is history. I couldn't believe that he showed up that early.
Well, it's 6:24. It just opened. For the last 10 minutes, we've had Future out here. So the next opportunity we get at a clear shot at him, I'm gonna take it. But he came from the south and walked across, and he's with the doe out here in the beans. There's a lot of weeds up in these beans, but so there's a lot of stuff blocking his vitals, but the next clear shot that I get, we're gonna take. That's beautiful. You might go in. Ready? Yep. Shot, buddy. I didn't see him. Down he goes.
Come on.
Down he goes. My opening interview today, I was gonna say how my confidence last week to get him has been so low. Last Sunday, me and Shellpfeffer walked into this field to hunt one of our spots, and we bumped him with a doe, and he's been MIA for the last week. And people have been saying they're seeing this big buck, and people are getting pictures off of our piece and to the northeast. So I'm like, oh, there's a good chance he's not going to be here for opening day. And last night at 9 o'clock, I got a picture of him, and my hopes just skyrocketed. He just milled around over on the edge of the field over there for long enough, and we got a shot. I think I made a good shot. Shellpfeffer says he's down. I couldn't see anything after I shot, but
he's laying right on the freaking path between the beans and the turnips.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, over there?
Yeah, right in the center.
I thought he went into the woods.
No.
I never saw him.
He's down.
The story of Future is really pretty unbelievable. I don't think I've ever had as much history and footage with a deer than I have with this one, and he's just a really special deer to me. And I have a lot of people to thank for the success that I had with this deer. Elliott Shellpfeffer stuck by me and pretty much was with me on almost every single encounter that I had ever had with Future. Throughout the rut and early season, and ultimately killing him. I couldn't thank him enough for being with me on opening day of rifle season to go after Future. And it's just an incredible story with them. And I have so many other people to thank that helped me out with tree stands and food plots, and of course always my dad, who is pretty much my land management partner and hunting partner between the properties that we hunt. So endless amount of people to thank. Can't thank the Breaking Point guys enough for inviting Elliott and I onto the team this year, and we're just really happy to be able to share the story of Future with you guys. And thanks for watching, and just really happy to bring you the story of Future.